It happened faster than anyone could believe. One moment, Andrei and Elizabeth were the fiery faces of 90 Day Fiancé, and the next, TLC had slammed the door shut forever. No suspension, no quiet break, no maybe someday. A lifetime ban, gone, wiped from future promos. Their footage buried deep in the network vault like a scandal nobody wants to touch again. Fans didn't even wait for an official statement. The internet exploded first. Finally! Some screamed while others gasped. Wait, what could they have done this time? In minutes, Reddit threads turned into digital bonfires. TikTok detectives pieced together clues frame by frame, an argument here, a leaked email there, and the timeline filled with chaos. Half the fandom celebrated it like poetic justice. The other half couldn't stop replaying old episodes, wondering if the warning signs were always there. Because deep down, everyone knew something about Andrei and Elizabeth's story had stopped being entertaining long ago. The yelling wasn't funny anymore. The tension wasn't staged. Somewhere between love, fame, and total obsession with the spotlight, something real had broken. TLC insiders whispered it was long overdue. One producer even hinted off-record that this wasn't just about bad behavior. It was about liability. Imagine that. A couple so volatile, so unpredictable, that a billion-dollar network decided cutting them loose was safer than filming another scene. Fans called it karma. Critics called it cleanup. And yet, for every person cheering the fall, there were others whispering, no one gets banned for life without something serious going down behind closed doors. The truth? Their downfall didn't happen overnight. It was brewing, quietly, dangerously, behind that picture-perfect brand they built. The Instagram filters, the family dinners, the weird unbothered energy, all of it was camouflage. Behind the cameras, tension was rising to a level even the producers couldn't spin as drama anymore. There were reports of fights that never aired, contracts that got rewritten mid-season, and a crew so fed up that some allegedly refused to work the next shoot. Andrei's temper wasn't new. Fans had seen glimpses of it for years. But the difference this time was how far it went. The rumors said there was shouting that didn't stop when the cameras did. Calls were made. Meetings were held. And in the end, TLC, the same network that had defended chaos for ratings, made the rarest decision of all: permanent exile. How did a dream that began with love, travel, and a visa interview turn into this? Total exile from the very show that made them famous? Maybe it wasn't one mistake. Maybe it was a slow burn. Ego, fame, and pride catching fire until it consumed everything. What began as reality TV's power couple had turned into its ultimate cautionary tale, and the story was just beginning. When Andrei first appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, he was everything a reality audience loves: confident, foreign, a little rough around the edges, and fiercely protective of his American love, Elizabeth. Viewers couldn't look away. He wasn't polished or pretentious. He was real. His accent, his temper, his charm, it all made him unforgettable. Elizabeth, sweet and loyal, played the perfect counterbalance. Together, they were the kind of couple you rooted for, the kind that made you believe love could survive paperwork, cultural gaps, and chaos. Their wedding episode was pure TV gold. Tears, laughter, family drama, and a love story the audience wanted to see win. For a while, they did win. TLC milked their chemistry, turning them into one of the franchise's biggest draws. Their clips went viral. Their fights became memes. Even their arguments had energy. The kind of unscripted passion producers dream of capturing. Fans adored their us-against-the-world vibe. They had the grit of a real immigrant love story, the grind of family struggle, and the fairy tale payoff of making it work. But somewhere between seasons, the tone shifted. Andrei's protectiveness started feeling like control. Elizabeth's loyalty began to look like silence. Their chemistry, once thrilling, turned into power play. The same temper that once made him passionate started to make people uncomfortable. Every new season, every spin-off, you could feel the warmth fading and the volatility rising. The audience that used to laugh along started cringing at the way he talked to her, the way he dismissed her family, the way every dinner scene seemed one insult away from explosion. It was no longer a couple figuring out life. It was a slow-motion domination match. Viewers started asking hard questions. Was this entertainment or emotional warfare? TLC noticed the comment shift too. Ratings stayed high, but sentiment dipped low. Subreddits that once defended Andrei now dissected his behavior, labeling it toxic masculinity wrapped in charm. Fan patience was thinning, and even Elizabeth's defenders began to sound tired. Behind the scenes, production noticed it too. The crew that used to laugh off his attitude now dreaded filming certain scenes. Even fellow cast members stopped engaging with them off camera. What once looked like confidence began to smell like arrogance, the kind that grows when fame goes unchecked. And just like that, the reality royals who once ruled the franchise became a cautionary legend in the making. The couple everyone had rooted for was morphing into the couple everyone wanted off their screens. And no one, not even Andrei himself, seemed to realize the fall had already begun. Behind the smiles and couple selfies, insiders say a darker story was building. Crew members allegedly started filing quiet complaints. It began small. Tension on set, angry outbursts, heated confrontations during breaks. But by the later seasons, what was once drama for the cameras was becoming something producers couldn't control. People who had worked on the show claimed that Andrei's temper didn't stop when the cameras did. He would reportedly storm off, curse at production, and challenge anyone who tried to direct him. It wasn't the kind of stage tension TLC loved. It was genuine hostility that left people shaken. According to several online reports and podcast discussions from ex-crew sources, some team members even asked not to be assigned to his scenes. They described the atmosphere as walking on eggshells. Allegedly, there were incidents where filming had to pause due to shouting matches so aggressive that HR got involved. That's when whispers about official warnings and internal reports started circulating. TLC, like most reality networks, was used to volatile personalities. Conflict equals ratings, that's the rule. But insiders claimed this wasn't about entertaining chaos anymore. It was about safety and liability. Still, the network tried to contain it quietly. They had invested too much in Andrei and Elizabeth's storyline to let it collapse. Early warnings were buried under layers of PR management. Producers reportedly worked overtime to edit out the worst moments, to shape him as passionate, not dangerous. And it worked for a while. Fans still saw the fiery husband protecting his family. They didn't see the producers exchanging nervous glances behind the monitors, but the cracks were spreading fast. Social media became an unfiltered lens that production couldn't edit. Viewers started catching inconsistencies. Moments where Elizabeth's forced smiles or Andrei's sudden bursts of anger felt too real, too raw. Reddit threads started quoting witnesses from filming locations. A few even claimed that certain crew members were offered hazard pay after one explosive on-set incident. TLC's silence only fueled more suspicion. Insiders say the breaking point came when an off-camera dispute allegedly escalated into a full-blown confrontation during a family shoot. No physical altercation was confirmed, but multiple crew members reportedly filed safety statements. That's when HR stopped treating it as talent behavior and started seeing it as a workplace issue. Behind the polished Instagram posts, an internal investigation was quietly unfolding. But what no one outside the studio knew then was that this wasn't just a case of bad behavior. There was something even darker about to surface. Something that would make TLC question if they had crossed their own moral line for the sake of television. It happened during what was supposed to be a routine family scene. Another dinner, another round of raised voices, the kind producers usually encourage. But this time, something felt different from the start. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. Elizabeth's family was already on edge, tired of Andrei's controlling attitude, and Andrei came in ready for a fight. Cameras rolled as words turned sharp, accusations flew, and the line between performance and reality blurred until no one could tell the difference. Then the explosion, a full-on shouting match that spiraled into chaos. Plates clattered, mics cut, and someone from the crew yelled for a stop. The footage was real, raw, and terrifying. What the public saw later was a heavily edited version, trimmed to look like another overblown family argument. But people who were there described it as the moment everything changed. Multiple sources claimed production staff had to step between Andrei and one of Elizabeth's relatives. Someone got shoved. Someone cried. A producer was allegedly injured trying to de-escalate the chaos. No one pressed charges, but HR and legal were notified immediately. TLC's internal memo reportedly labeled the incident a potential liability event. That's corporate speak for we might get sued. Inside the network, panic spread fast. What if someone leaked the uncut footage? What if a crew member went public about unsafe working conditions? Executives started holding late-night meetings, trying to figure out how to contain a scandal they knew was inevitable. Some wanted to suspend Andrei quietly, reframe the narrative as creative differences. Others argued the show's reputation was already hanging by a thread. Another misstep, and fans would revolt. Meanwhile, social media lit up. Viewers who had once defended Andrei were now disgusted. Hashtags calling for his removal trended for days. People didn't find it entertaining anymore. They found it disturbing. Clips resurfaced, showing his past aggression in a new light. Fans began connecting dots that TLC had worked hard to blur. The same charisma that once sold their love story now looked like intimidation. The fan base split, but for the first time, the majority wasn't laughing or excusing his behavior. They were demanding accountability. Inside TLC, lawyers warned that keeping him on screen could invite lawsuits from crew or family members. HR reports had piled up. Safety meetings became daily rituals. The show that once made millions was now a potential PR disaster. One executive reportedly said in frustration, "We created this monster and now we can't control him." As the investigation expanded, the tone in the hallways changed. There was no more joking about good TV. Producers who had once encouraged confrontation now wanted out of the storyline completely. The same network that once sold Andrei and Elizabeth as 90 Days power couple was quietly preparing to pull the plug. But no one outside the boardroom knew yet that TLC wasn't just planning to suspend Andrei. They were preparing to erase him from the franchise entirely. When the fallout hit, it wasn't just about temper or tension anymore. It turned into something far more serious. The kind of mess that crosses from entertainment into legal territory. Insiders say the investigation uncovered more than anyone expected. Behind the camera, chaos were alleged threats, financial inconsistencies, and a growing concern that Andrei's immigration status could become a liability for the network. Fans had already followed his green card storyline on screen, but now it was back under scrutiny, this time for real. According to production whispers, legal consultants were quietly reviewing whether his ongoing controversies could trigger government attention or negative press for TLC. Once the HR reports reached corporate, the tone of the entire situation changed. Lawyers stepped in. Risk assessment meetings turned daily. The focus wasn't on ratings anymore. It was on damage control. Executives reportedly reviewed every minute of unaired footage, cross-checking for anything that might expose the network to legal risk. What they found allegedly confirmed their worst fears: multiple documented complaints, volatile on-set behavior, and emails warning about potential harm to crew safety. The internal language shifted from containment to termination. The showrunners were told to plan for a complete removal. For Andrei, this was the ultimate betrayal. Sources close to production said that when he learned he'd been blacklisted, he exploded in anger. He called out producers, accused the network of editing him unfairly, and reportedly threatened to go public with his side of the story. The confrontation allegedly got so intense that security had to be present during his final meeting. It was the moment everyone realized there was no coming back. TLC had made its decision. Andrei and Elizabeth were banned for life. No more appearances, no more spin-offs, no reunion cameos. Their names were effectively erased from future production plans. Elizabeth's reaction was quieter, but her silence spoke volumes. On social media, she shared cryptic posts about choosing peace and starting fresh. Insiders said she was torn, loyal to her husband, but exhausted by the chaos. She allegedly begged producers not to drag her name through the mud, insisting she had nothing to do with the behind-the-scenes drama. Fans noticed her absence at events and started speculating that she was distancing herself from the fallout. The ban sent shockwaves through the 90-day universe. For the first time, viewers realized that TLC wasn't playing around. The network that once thrived on conflict had drawn a hard line, proving that even their biggest stars weren't untouchable. But what stunned everyone wasn't the ban itself. It was what came next, when the couple's silence broke, and the truth behind their downfall started spilling out in ways no one could control. The day the news broke, the internet went wild. Fans who had once begged TLC to take action finally got what they wanted, and the reaction was electric. Comment sections filled with celebration, disbelief, and a strange sense of relief. It felt like justice, the kind that rarely comes in reality TV. The audience that had once been complicit in the chaos now stood together, saying they were done glorifying toxicity. "Good riddance," one fan wrote. "About time," said another. It was a digital chorus of closure. Within days, TLC made their move. Old promos disappeared. Their clips were trimmed from upcoming teasers. The couple's faces vanished from thumbnails and social feeds. It was as if they'd never existed in the 90-day universe. Even the streaming platforms adjusted metadata quietly, pushing their seasons lower in the queue. Their legacy, once plastered across every most dramatic couples montage, was wiped clean. Viewers who searched for them now found re-uploads by fan channels dissecting their downfall instead of celebrating their journey. Andrei and Elizabeth had once been the definition of fame through relatability, proof that everyday people could become stars. They got houses, sponsorships, and followers by being raw, loud, and unfiltered. But in the end, that same unfiltered energy devoured them. Fame had made them feel untouchable, but arrogance made them disposable. The cameras that once gave them a platform ended up capturing their undoing. Elizabeth's posts became sporadic. Andrei's once dominant online presence faded into silence. For fans, it was poetic justice. They had watched the rise, endured the toxicity, and now witnessed the consequence. TLC's quiet erasure wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. The network had learned that even stars burn out when the light turns toxic. But behind the silence, a new question started to spread. Were they truly gone? Or plotting something outside TLC's reach that could reignite the fire one more time? Fame has a way of changing people, but reality TV fame rewires them completely. It doesn't just amplify who you are, it exposes the parts of you that were never meant for the spotlight. Andrei and Elizabeth's story is a textbook case of how power, attention, and validation can slowly morph into self-destruction. What started as a love story between two people from different worlds turned into a slow-motion crash that everyone saw coming, but no one stopped. When 90 Day Fiancé first introduced them, fans loved the cultural clash. They saw humor, passion, and authenticity. But what viewers didn't realize was how the show feeds on intensity. It rewards the loudest, boldest, most polarizing behavior. Every argument became a headline. Every insult became a meme. And over time, it blurred the line between being a person and being a product. For Andrei, being the villain worked. The angrier he got, the higher the ratings climbed. But the fame that made him powerful also made him reckless. There's a pattern in reality television that few recognize until it's too late. The more the audience reacts, the less the cast feels real accountability. You start to believe your behavior is justified because it pays the bills. You mistake attention for affection, outrage for respect. It's intoxicating. And when you live inside that echo chamber long enough, you stop listening to reason. That's what fans began to notice. A man trapped inside his own performance, unable to tell where the act ended and the truth began. The saddest part? It didn't have to end this way. If there had been genuine reflection, an apology, or a sign of growth, fans might have forgiven. TLC might have worked with him. But instead of softening, the aggression grew. And once HR and legal got involved, it stopped being a show. It became a liability. The same network that built his fame had no choice but to dismantle it. Elizabeth's side of the story is equally tragic. For years, she played peacekeeper, loyal, patient, and deeply committed. Viewers often underestimated how much emotional labor that took. She tried to defend him, tried to justify the chaos as passion, but somewhere along the line, even she looked exhausted. When you live in survival mode for too long, you forget what calm feels like. Fans could see that in her body language, in her eyes during confessionals. It wasn't partnership anymore. It was endurance. When TLC made the ban official, it wasn't just an HR decision. It was symbolic. It was the network's way of saying, there's a line. Yes, they want entertainment. Yes, they want chaos. But not at the cost of safety or humanity. The network took a hit financially, but they gained something far more important: moral clarity. For the first time in years, fans praised TLC for doing the right thing instead of exploiting the wrong one. And yet, even now, the story lingers. Andrei and Elizabeth's saga didn't vanish with their exit. It left a stain on the franchise and a question mark hanging over reality TV as a whole. How far is too far when the drama is profitable? Who decides when someone has crossed the line? And why do we, as viewers, sometimes cheer for the very behavior we later condemn? If you look closely, you'll notice how the public reaction mirrors the show's structure. In the early days, fans wanted the fireworks. They laughed at the shouting matches, defended the bad behavior, and rewarded chaos with clicks. But once it got real, once it stopped being funny and started being uncomfortable, the same audience turned away. It's the paradox of modern fame. We build people up for their flaws, then punish them when those flaws stop being entertaining. TLC's decision wasn't only about Andrei, it was about protecting the brand from a cultural shift. Audiences today are sharper, louder, and more ethically aware. What used to pass as good TV is now dissected for toxicity and harm. Viewers don't want to see cruelty anymore. They want accountability. And in that sense, Andrei's downfall became a mirror for all of reality TV. It forced everyone, from producers to fans, to question their own part in the cycle. Behind every meltdown, there's a system that rewards the meltdown. Producers push buttons, editors frame narratives, and fans feed engagement. And when it finally explodes, the blame spreads in every direction. Andrei's actions were his responsibility, but the machinery around him made sure his anger stayed profitable until it wasn't. The aftermath revealed something even more unsettling: the cost of performative love. Their relationship was never fake, but it became performative, shaped by what the audience expected, edited for what the network needed. Love turned into strategy. Affection became currency. And when the performance collapsed, so did the relationship's foundation. Fans who once envied their passion now pitied their silence. Elizabeth's quiet retreat from public life told its own story. She started posting less, stopped engaging in drama, and focused on her daughter. It was as if she'd finally stepped out of a storm she didn't realize she was living in. For years, she was seen as the enabler. Now, some fans see her as the survivor. Maybe this ending, brutal as it is, was the only way she could ever find peace. Andrei's fate, on the other hand, remains uncertain. Every few months, a rumor surfaces. A new business venture, a comeback attempt, a hint at legal retaliation. But none of it sticks. His online presence flickers in and out, a reminder of how fast fame fades when you lose the public's trust. What once made him magnetic now makes him infamous. For viewers, this entire saga became a strange kind of catharsis. It was a public reckoning, not just for the couple, but for a culture addicted to watching people implode. Fans realized they weren't just spectators. They were participants. Every like, every share, every meme fed the machine. And when the machine finally crashed, everyone had to face what they'd helped create. Reality TV has always been a reflection of society's appetite for drama. But this story, more than any other, showed what happens when the characters stop playing and start breaking. It exposed the real cost of turning human struggle into entertainment. It showed that empathy doesn't always sell, but indifference destroys. Still, there's a strange beauty in how it all ended. The silence after the storm feels cleaner. The franchise moves on. New couples step in, new scandals rise. But this one will always stand as a warning, a legend of how fame without humility eats itself alive. And somewhere, maybe off camera, both Andrei and Elizabeth are realizing that the thing they were chasing was never fame itself. It was validation. And once you lose the audience, no amount of shouting brings it back. For TLC, this was a hard reset. It forced them to draw boundaries, protect their crews, and rethink the kind of content they promote. Future seasons now come with stricter codes of conduct, mandatory HR oversight, and a new kind of storytelling. Still dramatic, but less destructive. And whether fans admit it or not, they helped push the industry there. The outrage wasn't wasted. It sparked a conversation about what we accept as entertainment and what we reject as exploitation. The irony? That conversation began because of the very chaos everyone thought was scripted. That's the twisted genius of reality TV. It holds a mirror, and sometimes we don't like what we see. Today, Andrei and Elizabeth's names have become shorthand for what happens when reality stars forget that their fame depends on the audience's respect. They're a case study in hubris, and in redemption, if they ever choose it. Because even now, redemption is possible. Reality fans are harsh, but they're also forgiving when they see growth. All it takes is honesty, humility, and a little time away from the spotlight. Maybe one day they'll find a way back. Not to TLC, but to themselves. Maybe the lesson they learned the hard way will make them better parents, better partners, better people. Or maybe the silence will stay permanent, their legacy frozen as the couple who flew too close to the fame they thought they controlled. Either way, their story has already changed the genre they came from. And if you think this was wild, wait till you hear what another 90-day couple is hiding from producers right now, because what's brewing behind those cameras makes this look like a warm-up.